Okay. Good evening, guys. Good to be with you again. I guess still virtual, but good to see your faces. We're very excited about the four players we added to the roster today, as well as Christian Darasaw, our first round pick. We think all of these young men are going to come in and be contributors. They're all great people. They fit the Viking mold, tough, smart, very good athletes, and guys that love the game of football. So we're excited to add them to the fold and can't wait till they get here. So I'll open it up for questions.
We will start with Courtney and then Ben.
Jamaal, Rick talked so much yesterday about having all this draft capital to potentially move up into the second round. Was it just the way that the board fell tonight that you guys felt like you didn't have to and you could still land the quarterback that you wanted there 2 picks into the third?
Exactly, Courtney. We were thinking that we may potentially trade up and use some of that ammo that we acquired to go into the second round, but the way the night went, we just felt like we could sit and wait and be patient for the players to come off. And luckily, we were able to obtain all these players, and we had them all very high on our board. So we're very excited that we were able to sit there and not have to give up any more draft picks to go get these guys.
Ben?
Jamaal, there was kind of that run of quarterbacks there at the end of the second round, beginning of the third round. What made Kellen Mond stick out among that group for you guys?
Kellen is a guy that, has been on the radar for a long time. I think he's the most experienced quarterback coming out in this class, a guy who's a 4-year starter, a guy who in high school was the #1 dual threat quarterback coming out of high school in 2017. And he's a guy that as we watched throughout his career, he's a guy who just got better and better each year. When you look at like his completion percentage, how it increased every year. And this year he was up at around 63% completion percentage. He took care of the ball. He didn't take sacks like he had done in the past. So we just saw steady growth out of Kellen. And we feel like he's somebody who's going to continue to grow once he gets into our system.
Next, we'll go Dave and then back to Courtney.
Jamaal, with Kellen, the comparisons are always, a little bit cheap at this point, but are there any current quarterbacks that you sort of see him, being a little bit like in the league right now?
Dave, not really off the top of my head can I say that he reminds me of a guy. His frame, I don't know, it's probably more like a Teddy Bridgewater in the way that he's built. Maybe a little better athlete than Teddy in terms of just straight ahead speed, but a good arm, good strong arm. He's got a lot of tools to develop.
He's played in a bunch of different systems from what Sumlin had him in the first couple of years and then with Jimbo the last couple of years. How does that, I guess, when you bring somebody in who has that much experience and knowing how to shape that, is that, I guess, more, I don't know, do you want to see that more in quarterback? Somebody who's played in a 4-wide, 1-back set and then going into, a pro style set. Is there a preference on that? Is that why you picked him?
No, that really wasn't part of why, the reason we picked him. But, when a guy can go through that many systems and still be the successful quarterback that he was, this guy won a lot of games as a starter. That tells us that, he must be a pretty smart guy and he's able to, adjust to different systems and still be successful. So.
Any other questions for Jamaal? Craig Peters.
Hey, Jamal, just wanted to ask you about Surratt and kind of the transformation he made going from QB as starter at Tar Heels over to linebacker, what you saw from him.
Chaz is a guy that you're correct. He was a quarterback and for 2 years, I believe, and actually played some games at North Carolina as a quarterback. And I believe that he went to the coaches and asked to be moved because he felt like there was an opening at linebacker. And that just tells you what kind of athlete that Chaz is, because he really only had one spring, the spring before the 19 season, at the linebacker spot. And he really just, he was just so productive, and it really just kind of came natural to him. And then he just built upon that this season. And he's just really, he's an incredible athlete. He was a guy who was recruited by Roy Williams at North Carolina as a basketball player as well. So that tells you what kind of athlete we're dealing with. And he's just a phenomenal playmaker. You know, I saw him play live this year at Notre Dame at North Carolina. I believe it was the first series. He made like 3 or 4, plays in a row where, he's a great blitzer. You just see the speed sideline to sideline. His instincts for a guy who's only played linebacker for 2 years is unbelievable. So we're very excited about him and his upside and what he brings to the table for the Vikings.
Ben,
Zim-
back to you. Ben, then Courtney.
Jamal, with Patrick Jones, what made him stick out to you guys as you looked for a pass rusher there?
Well, at the time that we picked him, he was the top guy there of the pass rushers that we had left. So he's also an incredible athlete. He's a guy who, is from the Virginia area, was going to go to Virginia Tech before Frank Beamer retired, decided to go to Pitt. So he sat for, I believe, 2 years and then kind of burst onto the scene in 2019. He was more of a rotational guy in 18. But he's a guy who finished with 22 total sacks in his career. So he does have a knack for rushing the passer. He's a long guy, like we like our defensive ends. We believe he has more growth in him as far as the pass rush and playing the run. But like all these kids, he's a great kid too. So he's going to add so much on and off the field once he gets here.
Zim was mentioning yesterday, just with getting Darisaw, that it wasn't just athleticism. He wants guys on the offensive line who have that size, especially in areas like pass protection, that's where he wants that to show up. With someone like Wyatt Davis and, the interior pass protection, do you think he has that size? Is that the prototypical size of what you were looking for, just in terms of his length and how I guess that might translate to what he's being asked to do in interior pass protection to keep Kirk upright?
Yeah, I mean, there was pretty much a directive from Zim, like going into scouting this fall and throughout the season, let's get bigger up front. And that was a directive, and we went out and Wyatt Davis definitely fits that mold. He's a big man. He's long. He can play guard, potentially tackle. So he has some flexibility, and he's another guy who's just a great guy, very smart. He comes from a great pedigree. His grandfather is a great Willie Davis, the former Green Bay Packer. We won't hold that against him. And his dad played college football as well. So we're very happy to get him to where we got him.
And I've just got one last one. You've shared a draft room with George Payton for a long time. And obviously this year, the first year not having him in there, what's it been like?
It's sort of been business as usual. You definitely miss a voice like George, just a respected voice and someone who carried a lot of weight and was he was a very good evaluator. So we missed that, but give credit to Rick Spielman and just kind of the structure that he's created here. It's just next man up. and we just keep rolling. And that's what it's been. Ryan Monens has stepped in and filled George's shoes capably on the trade side. And my voice has become a bigger voice as far as the evaluation, as well as our other scouts. Everyone's done a phenomenal job just stepping up and filling those shoes.
We'll go final question to Ben.
Jamaal, as you guys are trying to get bigger on the line and still trying to emphasize the athleticism and that zone blocking scheme, how hard of a combination is that to find guys that are big and can also move like Darisaw and Davis?
Yeah, it's difficult. It really is because typically the smaller lineman is your more athletic lineman. So that's why we were so excited to land these two guys, because we feel like they have that combination of size and athleticism.